I'm Shweta from Astronomy, your host for today's episode, and I welcome you to our interview series, People of Space. In this series, I chat with people working in the space industry, and we bring you these conversations, raw and real.
Inspire the world, a brand new face. Welcome to the people of space.
Today, we are joined by Cheyenne Polius. Whether she is mentoring future scientists, pioneering astronomy outreach in her home country, or unraveling complex data in fintech, Cheyenne's work bridges the gap between science, community, and innovation. Hi, Cheyenne, how are you?
Hi, Shweta. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome to our episode of People of Space. We are very grateful that you found the time to join us. So let's get into it. Could you first share with us a little bit about your early fascination with the stars? What sparked the curiosity and how did it guide you towards astrophysics?
Yeah, sure. I would say for as long as I can remember, I've just been a curious mind. I've just always loved to see how things work and put things together. So I remember as a child, I loved puzzles, anything solving any kind of puzzle, whether it be the ones like actual artistic puzzles or a game on a computer where you had to solve some kind of mystery. Like that was always something I really enjoyed doing. I especially as a girl, like I prefer to do that than play with dolls. So it was like that's what I remember, the things that really excited me. So coming into school, naturally, I loved science and maths because those were the things that were teaching you about how the world works and teaching you how to solve those problems. And then when I was around 14 or 15, they split out the sciences into biology, chemistry, physics. So we're getting more specific into which science does what. And I remember physics being, we had to write down like the definition of physics on the first day of class, and it was like the study of how the universe works. And I was like, this is it. This is like the subject for me. This is what I want to learn. So that was my kind of love for science. I think I had that love for science before I realized that it was a fascination with space as well. I always watched space documentaries growing up, but didn't really connect the two things until I was studying physics at school, and I realized, wait, all the stuff they've been talking about in the space documentaries, that's physics. Like they're using physics to explain it. And eventually came across astrophysics and realized that it was an entire field all on its own, and there were degrees in it and there were jobs in it, and that's something that was a whole, like I just learned that from Google, like just going down the Google rabbit hole and realizing that this is an entire thing that people can do as a career. So that's when I thought, yep, I was 15 years old and I thought that's what I want to do, and just went through all the stages to get there. So that's where it started.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I'm sure that many girls who are enjoying puzzles now, thinking about astronomy, they can look up to you and they can relate themselves to you that, okay, I'm kind of like Cheyenne, it's really cool. So you grew up in Saint Lucia and
Yeah.
then you moved to UK, right? So
Yeah.
it sounds like quite a journey. And can you tell us how did being raised on a small island shape your aspirations? And not just in astronomy, but in life as you were in school and what was your exposure? How did it happen?
Yeah, I owe so much to my upbringing. I my tagline is like I'm a small island girl with big dreams, and I definitely think that's something that was instilled in me from the environment I had growing up in Saint Lucia. A lot of the, I guess, issues and barriers of women and women of color getting into the space field or STEM in general, those perceptions, they weren't really it's not something that I had to deal with growing up. It was actually a bit of the opposite, where I always heard that girls do better at school, girls are more focused, girls are smarter than boys. Like it was a kind of like a tease, like a joke, but it was it was the opposite perception, where it was like girls are more disciplined, they get things done, like just generally. And I think even the stats show that in the Caribbean, like the higher proportion of women in like management positions, because there's, not to say that there isn't sexism and there isn't issues around that, but just it wasn't something that was constantly said to me every day that, girls aren't supposed to do this and girls aren't supposed to do that. Like there wasn't much of that growing up. And my secondary school as well, both my primary school and my secondary school, so my high school were like all girls schools. So, and a lot of, because a lot of them were rooted in religion, a lot of the teachers were female as well. Like that was kind of the, I guess, culture coming from it being started off with nuns leading their schools. So even now today, majority of the teachers are female, and then obviously all the students are female as well. So I was just constantly surrounded by these brilliant women who were doing science and teaching me math. So I definitely think I came to the UK feeling like, yeah, like, so what? Like I'm a girl and I like physics. Like that wasn't something that should have been opposite. So 100% I owe growing up in the Caribbean to that. It definitely shaped my confidence in thinking that I can do this. Yeah, it's a really hard subject, but I just have to work hard and do my best. So definitely owe it to that. Owe that to my upbringing. In terms of exposure to astronomy, not very much, and well, none at all, to be honest. Like I say, I kind of found it out almost by chance that it was something. While I was researching for a school project, that's when I kind of came across the word astrophysics. So, and that's why I started. Like, we'll get into this a bit more, but that's why I do a lot of the outreach work and science communication work that I do, because it could have been very easily, my path could have gone completely differently had I not discovered that this was a field, because it wasn't something that was part of my education, like formal education. So pros and cons, but I'll say overall pros growing up in Saint Lucia.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I mean, it shows in you, when you say that you were surrounded by women role models and you were supported by a lot of women, and this changes the narrative so much. And I think people need to understand that, because like this, all of these things that have shaped you have, helped you balance between so many different roles that you work in right now. So like, be it data analyst, be it educator, author, advocate, and founder also. So how do you manage to juggle these diverse responsibilities? Do you have any secret strategy? I really want to know.
I wish I could give like one, big secret or here's the recipe, here's the thing to do. But honestly, it's one day at a time, one task at a time. Even just every time I have to, like, I reflect on my journey and I reflect on like what I'm doing now. I can't believe that I'm doing all those things and have done all these things. And it's honestly just taking it one step at a time. I think having a physics background, it definitely gives you a lot of technical skills. So it gives you the analysis, the problem solving. You learn a bit of coding. You're obviously really good at math because you have to do so much of it. Well, you get good at math. You're not naturally good at it, but you do so much of it. I have to distinguish, because a lot of people are like, oh, I could never do physics because I'm bad at math. Like you're forced to get good at it. You do so much of it. So I have that background, and I'm like a nerd in that sense, where I love numbers, I love programming, I love solving problems with data. So that leans into like my current 9 to 5 job in finance, because finance is numbers and money. And, a lot of as technology is evolving, the finance industry is adopting programming and AI and machine learning. So all the things that I would have learned in my physics degree are also the same tools that are being used in the finance industry as well. And then just my overall passion for science communication, and just saying that I want other little girls in the Caribbean to know that you can do whatever it is you set your mind to. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about. So all the endeavors I do in that's just, it's something where I don't think I could stop even if I tried. I don't think it's something that I could say, yeah, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, and just stop doing it altogether. It's something that I naturally do. And because I'm lucky enough to have gotten so much exposure through interviews like this, where I can share my story. There have been people reaching out to me to say, hey, I'm interested in this, or I'm considering that. So I think even if I dropped off the face of the earth and like stopped doing everything, it would still be coming to me, and I wouldn't be able to say no. So all the things that I'm doing definitely just comes from just the fact that I really enjoy it and I'm really passionate about it. And it's not to say that it's easy. It's definitely a game of time management and juggling things. But I would say for anybody who's thinking, oh, I have so many interests, I have so many passions, or I'm trying to balance work or school alongside extra activities, the best thing you can do for yourself is just figure out the best way for you to stay organized and just keep showing up for yourself every day. Some days are better than others. Some days you might get through nothing on your to-do list, and other days you just hit it out of the park. And it's just showing up for yourself every single day. And over time, you look back and you're like, wait, I didn't even realize like I was doing all this. I was learning all of this, and here I am now with published papers, and I'm a founder, and I'm working in this job in finance. Like it's not something that just happens overnight. It's just keeping showing up for yourself every day, and just don't worry about the days that are so bad. Just think about how you can make tomorrow better, and just keep going. That's the only thing you can do. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, I agree. Just showing up for yourself every day, and it doesn't surprise me that this is like your mantra, and that's why you can juggle all these different roles. And this is basically entrepreneurial spirit. And
Yeah.
with that, you have founded the Saint Lucia National Astronomy Association, short formed as LUNA. I love that short form.
Yeah.
Now it's called LUNAA Journeys. So, what inspired you to do that, and how has it impacted your community? What's the work you do? What is your future goals with this? Share something about that.
Yeah. So Luna is my baby, my first child, will always be. Um, Luna started from that realization that there's not basically being the person I would have wished I had when I was going along my journey of figuring out what I wanted to do. My teachers, my science teachers were amazing. They really helped, share their experience, but I hadn't had anyone around me who had done astrophysics, and a lot of people um, just even if they'd done a STEM degree, just going the full path, because I was like, I want to be an astrophysicist. I want to be a researcher. Obviously now I'm in finance. That's changed. But once I was starting my journey, that was the aim. It was like, I want to go all the way. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I just didn't know anybody who had gone through that journey. So Luna was born out of the fact that how many other young people in the Caribbean or in Saint Lucia, that's where it started. But right now I'm thinking very much on a Caribbean scale, and that's how LUNAA Journeys was born. But um, definitely just thinking of how many other people, not even just young people, but people in general who have this passion, who have this excitement. It might not be astrophysics, it might be aerospace engineering, it might be just natural sciences in general, any STEM field, and feel like they don't even know what's possible for them. They don't even know all the opportunities that are out there. They might not have stumbled across a random term on Google and decided to, to dig more into that. So that's how Luna was born. And it was just wanting to have that community of people coming together and sharing that passion. It might not necessarily be, obviously I'm biased, I studied it, so I'd love to help people who want to go down the university route, but also people who just want to look up through a telescope, who just want to come and talk about the fact that, SpaceX is having a launch, and just those different things around. That's not something that you is on a national level, at least, is not something that is spoken about, celebrated. There's no spaces for people to make those connections. So that's how LUNAA was born. Saint Lucia National Astronomy Association, basically a astronomy club. That's what I wanted it to be. And slowly it's evolved into now a social enterprise, which is LUNAA Journeys. And it's trying to get the best of both worlds, where, yes, I want to have that community, but any endeavor is going to need resources, whether that be financial or otherwise. And as much as it's a noble endeavor, and I'm sure we're going to get, a lot of grants and sponsors and all those kind of things, it's trying to sustain ourselves. And that is, also giving back to the community, because if you can employ people as a business, then we're creating jobs. And we're now creating jobs in a space where it doesn't exist. There's nothing astronomy related per se. So it's really like, I think it's a natural evolution of LUNAA, because when I think of all the things that LUNAA Journeys wants to do, it still meets all the objectives, and it meets the social mission of LUNAA, that community feel and getting everybody together. But it's trying to build that in a way where it will outlive me, like it will be able to just be a well-oiled machine that will keep going forever. And some of the plans around that I'm very excited about, that just thinking on a medium to long term scale because we're definitely just starting out. We just registered this year, like just trying to find our feet. Um, but on the first thing we can do is obviously stargazing, towards stargazing sessions, just get people coming to look through a telescope. But some of the bigger dreams that I haven't, shared publicly is like exclusive to Astron Era's interview. I would love to have the Caribbean's first planetarium. Um, and I would love to have an observatory as well, like a research facility. I think we do already have research telescopes and we have a University of the West Indies. I'm sure there'll probably be, I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure there'll probably be a telescope there. But an actual observatory, like you have everything, you have the dome, you have everything's robotic, like that's the dream, like having that in the Caribbean and for Caribbean people to have easier access to it and helping with outreach, helping with research, like yeah. So that's the goal and the exciting things that I hope in the next, 5, 10, 15 years that we can say, the Caribbean has this now. And like I said, it's something that can sustain itself and not something that has to stop because we ran out of funding or so yeah, that's the reason why LUNAA got turned into LUNAA Journeys, which is now a social enterprise. It's more of a business but with a social mission.
Yeah, wow. Wow, this is giving me goosebumps. I am so excited for you. And I mean, as Astronera, whatever support we can give to our company, to LUNAA Journeys, and help you reach out to more sponsors and donors, we'd love to do it. As you know, we're launching our website completely newly. We will be featuring you on there, and we'd love to, give you more exposure and help you reach out to more people, just like this interview and more stuff that we can do. But I think one of the biggest things that I would like to mention here is the STEM Advocate Award that you received. And I can see what mindset brought you that award, and it's a significant milestone. So, what do you think of this recognition? What does it mean to you personally? And has it influenced your work in outreach and advocacy, and how?
This award was a surprise to me and it came at the perfect time because I remember I got it in 2022 and I remember that was a point where I was feeling a lot of burnout with leaving university, starting getting into the working world and still trying to keep up with all the outreach things in a pandemic. And a lot of the pandemic turned a lot of things virtual that I ended up, I think, involved in a lot more things than I would have if I had to do them in person. So I was not in a really good mental space, if I'm honest. I was just going from my 9 to 5 to some Zoom webinar I would be doing on, sustainability in the Caribbean. And then after that, I'll be joining a meeting on a project group or something else I'm working on. I just didn't really give myself space and time to rest. And I kind of got to a point where I felt like, why am I doing all of this? Why am I, right now my 9 to 5 is the only thing paying my bills. So why am I so tiring myself out with so much of the stuff that I'm doing? And this award literally came at that time. And it was an award from Saint Lucia's Department of Sustainable Development. So that was something to me, because I've been living in the UK for so long and I've been involved in international organizations, I've gotten recognition there. But the fact that it came from home, someone at home said, we see you, we see what you're doing, we see, all the efforts you're putting in. And sometimes I felt a lot of, not so much imposter syndrome, but I just felt like, am I really having an impact in St. Lucia? Is it something that I'm changing in St. Lucia, or am I just in this place saying I want to do those things? So that award meant so much more than they could ever imagine. It's an annual ceremony. So they thought, yeah, okay, we'll give you STEM Advocate. But I think that gave me a newfound fuel to just keep going. So I think that point I remember evaluating. I think that's when LUNAA Journeys was born, actually. I ended up reevaluating everything. I'm like, okay, I am tired. I am exhausted. I do need to kind of slow down and do less, but I want to say yes to the right things and not yes to everything. So I kind of took a step back from everything I was doing and said, okay, what do I want to do for St. Lucia and how is that going to work out in the long term? And I think that's when I had the mindset switch from it being a like more of on a non-profit to it being a fully fledged business that's generating revenue for itself. So yeah, that award definitely was like a pivot point, and I don't think I ever really expressed how much like it changed in that moment. I think like I said, it was absolute perfect timing. It's definitely one of my proudest achievements. I hold it really close to my heart, and I know people might think like, oh, it's a small island, it's just. But like the fact that it came from home and home was like, we see you. I was like, yeah, that's all I need. If like I can die happy knowing that Saint Lucia is happy and proud with the work that I've done for them, and it doesn't need to get any international recognition. But if home is happy, then I'm happy.
Yeah, that is very important. It is very, heart-touching moment when your country and your people recognize your work. And I mean, I have also received some international awards and stuff, but whenever somebody from my country and I know the government of India, it recognizes me and does something for me, it's like next level. It's home after all, and the
Yeah.
recognition from your people and your home is always amazing. But you have been known on international platforms. Recently, you attended the conference in Cape Town, the IAU General Assembly. I so
Yeah.
badly wanted to be there. If I had known that you were also going beforehand, I would have definitely reorganized stuff and would have been there. Can you share something about that with us?
Oh, we definitely need to coordinate on the next one. I think the next one is in Rome and the one after that is in Chile. I really want to go to the one in Chile. So we have to make sure, yeah, we can talk
Okay,
about
we'll
the next.
plan from right now to go to Chile
Yeah.
together.
We have 6 years. We can make it work. Um, that was that was a highlight of my year. Every time I think back to Cape Town, I start tearing up again like happy tears. That was I think another reaffirmation point. So just as I said, like the award came at a time where I needed to just rethink everything and like what I'm doing. And I think that was 2 years ago. And I think being able to speak at the General Assembly was confirmation that I made the right decision 2 years ago. Like I decided to focus on the right things and making sure that everything I'm doing is aligned with my path and how I want things to progress in the future. I found out about the General Assembly last year in Poland. So I was at the European Astronomical Society meeting in Poland, and the African Astronomical Society had a booth there. So they obviously had a big banner saying IU General Assembly Cape Town 2024. And I've never been to an African country, and I've been wanting to go. Like I've been wanting to visit. So I was like, I'm gonna find a way to go to this conference. Like I don't know how because I work in finance. I'm like, I don't know how, but I'm gonna find a way to go to this conference. And luckily, one of the organizations I work with is Black in Astro, which is another just diversity trying to help Black people who either want to get into space fields, stay in space fields, or leave space fields and navigate that transition. They have been, talking to the African Astronomical Society through the American Astronomical Society, and they'd mentioned having representation in Cape Town, and I was like, me, please, I'll go. And geographically, it's like I was the closest being in the UK and a lot of the Black and National members being in the US. So that was highlight of my year. And going to give a talk on like diversity
Uh-huh.
at the IU, like that was something that, again, just that confirmed to me that I'm on the right path because as much as I enjoyed the science talks and all the science research, and I do very much love research, I'm still an astronomy nerd. I think the thing that pulled me away from my original plan of, going into academia, being a researcher, is that science communication, outreach, diversity aspect where I'm like, I want to inspire people. Like I love what I do and I love astronomy, but I want to be in a space where I can have the most impact. I don't say I wouldn't be able to have an impact in academia. It's just that I was like, this is the best choice for me right now while I kind of figure out all of the outreach stuff. Like I said, just need to pay my bills and then I'm gonna figure everything else out after that. So yeah, IU General Assembly definitely had of my being able to visit South Africa and do things like, go on a safari and all of that, like that 10 out of 10 experience. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it all sounds so great. And you've mentioned a couple of times that you have a job in finance, but your background is in astrophysics. So I want to turn a little bit towards that how did that happen? And as you mentioned earlier, maybe you can dive a little bit deeper into it, how your skills as astrophysicist come in play when you're doing data analysis in fintech, and how does your background shape it, basically?
Yeah. I always tell people that physics is just data analysis with a little bit of razzle dazzle. So a lot of the concepts I would have learned in physics and a lot of the tools I would have been able to use in my degree, like directly translate over. It's just a different context in finance. Me ending up in finance was completely by chance. I graduated, I was applying for jobs, and this is the one that I got. It wasn't something that I planned ahead of time. I knew that there were a lot of different industries that very much valued skills in physics and astrophysics. And that's something that I tell people as well when they say, oh, what are you going to do with a physics degree? I was like, anything you want, almost anything you want. Because so much of all businesses are built to solve problems, and physics teaches you really good problem solving skills. And the fact that you have that additional technical aspect, so you know how to analyze data, you know how to, use maths. Right now, it's all the math is being done by computers, but like you understand the things behind it. A lot of industries want to use statistics to make sure that their data is, making sense, and all the decisions they're making, they're actually doing it based off of, grounded in data and data that's reflective of the world around them. So in a physics degree is just having that in a physics bubble. So I might be doing analysis to say, how many stars are going to explode in this cluster in the next 10 million years. But finance will just say, how many, stocks do I need to trade to make this amount of money in this amount of time? It's like you're solving the same kind of problems, just in a different context. So
That's an interesting example, yeah.
it's just like, I feel people think that they're worlds apart, but it's just the context. You're using the data for different things, but how you use the data and how you get to those insights and decisions, it's the same process. You might be making different assumptions. You might be, I might have to assume that gravity is 9.8, blah, blah, blah. And then in finance, you might have to assume that, I don't know, like something to do with the market, like the economy is doing so, I don't know. But just, it's all the way you think. And that's what I think physics and like a lot of STEM degrees in general, they train your mind to think in a certain way. So once you've gone through so many years of studying that, like your brain automatically is in problem solving mode all the time, and you don't even realize. A lot of the time, I do feel a lot of imposter syndrome every day being in finance. I've been in it for 4 years now, and I still feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing because I didn't study this, and I don't know all of the terminology. But every now and then I have those days where I figure something out, and I'm like, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a physics background. So it's definitely something that, like I say, it's a lot closer than people think. And there's so many other industries. Finance is not the only industry that they value a physics degree, astrophysics, STEM. I group them into all because it's the same problem solving mindset. And there are actually some rules within finance where they don't hire people with a finance background. They hire people with a STEM background in that specific role because they need you to have that technical skill. And there are some degrees that would be like financial mathematics or financial engineering, but they're very niche degrees. So when you're dealing with a pool of candidates, you're more likely to get somebody who's either done finance or done a quantitative subject, and they will pick the person who did physics or math or computer science over the person who did finance or economics. So there are so many industries that know, they're like, these physics universities, these physics courses, you're training your students well, and we want them and we want their skills. So it's definitely not something where you ever have to feel, if I do astrophysics, that's all I can ever do in life. Like if you decide during your degree, don't really want to do this anymore, or you don't find an opportunity within astrophysics that you want to take, honestly, I feel like the world is your oyster, and it's a lot of very lucrative industries as well. So definitely not the end of the world. if you decide to do that. And yeah, me in finance was definitely by chance, but I'm really glad I ended up here because I think it opened my eyes to an entirely new world of people who also value those skills that you have and how just seeing it used in different contexts of how the world works. Because I would be doing it like, okay, this is how the universe works, but right now in finance, like this is still how the world works, just has to do with how money is moving around. So learning a whole different part of how things work.
Yeah, this problem solving skill that you mentioned, like it comes with the study of physics and astronomy in general when you realize that you're just floating on this pale blue dot in this massive universe and there's so many things around for you to do. And it's been like a common learning from all these people of space interviews that I've been doing. And now that we have spoken about this skill, I actually want to talk to you a little bit about your hobbies. Tell us what you like to do in your free time when you're not doing your 9 to 5 job, when you're not being your boss girl at LUNAA Journeys. What is it that you do?
I am either at the gym or finding something to get my creative brain going. So that could be anything. I could be just designing stuff in Canva. So I do social media for Black and Astro. So it's like designing flyers in Canva. If I don't have anything to do from a work aspect, it will be coloring, building Legos. When I do get my hands on anything crafty, I will do it. Right now, as an adult, it's very like you have to go out of your way to do fun things, which is annoying. But painting, drawing, making bracelets, like I'm a creative person, and I just don't get a lot of a chance to do that when it comes to the professional side of things. So yeah, either I'm doing something crafty with a lot of colors, or I'm at the gym before work.
And does that do these interests like somehow connect with your work, your scientific interests, or your data driven mindset?
I think gym definitely feeds into that kind of experimental mind doing science, like having a science background, because so much of it is okay, here are the results I want to achieve. What do I have to do to get there? Like, okay, I'm trying to build muscle, so I need to lift heavier weights. Like, I need to increase my weight every week. I need to eat this much protein. I need to do all of that. And it's very much an experiment. It's very much trial and error. I haven't quite fully figured it out for myself yet, but I think that definitely, because I'll get the overall research from the people who do it, where they say you need to eat this much and you need to train this heavy and you need to go to the gym X amount of times a week, and then you have to tweak that for yourself. And yeah, my just me loving learning and loving to learn new things and learning how things work. Like I think that definitely is part of that. It's like, oh, okay, I tried this last week and I felt this, or like I've tried this, I've been doing this for the last 3 to 4 months and I'm trying to see progress in this area. It's like, okay, I'll keep trying that. Um, Arts and craft, I honestly don't know where that fits in. I think that probably comes from growing up in a very creative family. A lot of people in my family have some sort of creative talent that I've seen growing up. So my uncle was like a really good artist, like to the point where he got to paint, our cathedral. When we had built our cathedral in our city center, he was such a good painter. They were like, you're coming to paint all the nice, intricate like murals and stuff that they have up. Um, like my mom and my aunt are really into like carnival and carnival costumes, like all the feathers and everything. Like, so I grew up, going to them, what we call a mass camp is where they like do all of the costumes, like go with them to do that and all through my teenage years. And I think just generally my family, I'm a science nerd, but everybody else in my family kind of leans towards the arts in one way or another. So that could be where my, needing to have a creative outlet comes from. But I really enjoy doing anything creative. And I think to the point where I need to do it ever so often. And I think, if I do say so myself, I am really good at it. Like just having the eye for, how colors fit together and how a design might work. And it's something that I've been doing very informally for forever. Like I don't have any formal experience in it, but whenever I do something, whether it be social media posts or like a social media flyer, like I get quite a lot of compliments like, oh, this looks really good. Or I think it does fit into, connects with data visualization in physics. I don't know how I forgot that because I love data visualization. And that's probably my favorite part of data analysis that I don't get to do in my current role. So it definitely helps because there's been, yeah, that's why I say when it got reminded of it because of the feedback thing, because my lecturers would always make specific comments on how good my charts were. So even in a physics, like the sometimes could be very boring world of report writing in physics, even in that, like I found ways to say like, okay, like make it look better, as good as possible. So yeah, I think it's just a part of me. It's just who I am, and it's just finding those outlets to do that. And gym is just something that just trying to stay healthy in general because at the end of the day, we're just people, we're just humans, so we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And yeah, that's how all of that kind of fits together.
Yeah, well, we are star stuff, okay? We're not just humans. And
That's true.
we gotta make sure that we are fit and well in shape. And I understand, like, it's really cool that you sort of compared it with like the experimental mindset and everything, and arts and crafts with data also. Like, data is mostly black and white. You gotta put some color in it. But I
Yeah.
think it's really important to have this creative and experimental mindset when it comes to science communication that you're doing. And you mentioned like you love working with students in Saint Lucia and like the kids over there, and you want to do something for them. So let's play with this question a little bit. Tell me one thing, if you could do just one thing for kids in St. Lucia about astronomy, what would you do? What experience would you give them, or what experiment would you make them do?
Something that has been is on my list of things to do, hopefully will happen soon. Just as we've come up with the topic of like creativity, I want to create a children's coloring book and have that obviously space themed. So obviously the pictures will be, whether it be planets, stars, whatever, but also the descriptions underneath it. So they will obviously be like goes in science communication because it will be very much simplified for a young child to be able to understand. But something just unsuspecting, like every child likes to color, or most children like to color. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna color these pretty pictures, but then there's also the story or the I think I want it to be a coloring storybook. Um, and then they're following that story along. So without even realizing, they're learning things about the universe and things about space. That's something that's like the first thing that's popped into my mind as you've said that. And that's because it's on my list to do like hopefully next year or maybe the year after. We'll see how everything else goes. Um, but more generally, if I think of one thing, um, I would really love to have a planetarium show. It might not be the final planetarium building, but looking into getting like a mobile planetarium and just like having I think if everybody can just have that experience, or even just looking up for a telescope, but just having dedicated time to just see the stars. Like I don't think we look up enough. Even in Saint Lucia, which has beautiful skies, so we don't have that much light pollution. But I don't think a lot of people is part of their day-to-day thinking. So if I could just get them all together and just give them like 10, 15 minutes of just look up, whether it be on a planetarium dome or whether it be actually through a telescope. I think having those opportunities for people to do that, and then because you have so many stories of people saying, "Oh, I got interested in astronomy when I got a telescope for Christmas." Like that wasn't my story, but I've heard a lot of stories like that, and it's like just sparking that curiosity. I think I would want to do that, even if they never do astronomy. At least they can be like, "Oh, there was one time I looked through the telescope and it was actually really cool what was up there." So I would love to give like all children in St. Lucia that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very important, but like having that spark and being able to, sort of ignite that is basically a long-term mission and like a dream for people like us, right? But the book
Yeah.
thing is quite interesting. And I'm actually thinking that maybe we should collaborate and actually get it done. And now I feel like this is for our listeners or viewers. Please comment and let us know if you would like us to come up with this coloring book for your kids, and if you know that this would be something that you would wanna have in your life, and we'd take it on. So we just
I
need
have
some
I have so
inspiration.
many ideas already going through my mind about a collaboration. So Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely good.
yeah, cool. Okay, so now we're talking about kids, and they're gonna be the future of STEM with all these experiences that we're trying to give them. Um, what is in your mind when you think about the future of STEM education, and how are the trends of space exploration are going to go? What is your imagination about it, and what are you most excited about?
I'm really excited about it might not be new, but it's new to me, like the entire wave of science communicators who are like on my feed now. And the fact that social media, as much as it can be bad sometimes, it has given so many people opportunity to reach more people in that way. I think I'm really, really excited about people, just younger people seeing themselves through other people. So somebody might be watching this and yes, they could relate to me and that's great. But not everybody's going to relate to me. So the fact that like every science communicator can share a bit of their personality through their science communication online, that's something I'm really excited about. Just the fact that like just more people knowing that they can be part of space and they can do, they can do all the hard things that they think might be unattainable for them. In terms of progression in the industry itself, of course, there's so many exciting things happening. Like every time it's like going to Mars and like launching all these rockets and Starlink, and it might be a bit controversial in terms of debris up in space and being able to observe. I know the astronomy community is currently debating about if it's good or bad, um, but it is nonetheless like just technological advancement and getting to really push the boundaries of our knowledge. I think it's a really exciting time to be alive and seeing all these developments happening. Like it's nice to learn, because we learn all about all like theory of relativity and all those things and how those came to be, and those were really amazing discoveries in their time. But now we have so much information, so it's like, what's next? Like I used to always think we know so much, like what's going to be the next big thing? Because you learn about um, discoveries that completely changed the science field. Like they turned them upside down and they said, this is how this thing works now. You need to throw everything away. Like figuring out that we would the center of the solar system and the sun was actually in the center. Like discoveries like that that just changed the perception of everything. I always think like, do we have any of those left? Like we know so much already. Like do we have something we can learn now that will just erase everything and like start from scratch or like flip everything on its head? And it's like, we may not have that. We probably still do, but we might not have that big of a discovery. But the fact that we have so much information, now we're like, okay, what more can we do? What more can we do? And like really pushing the the boundaries of what we can do is very, very, very exciting. Um, I think just with something else, I think what I'm like, yeah, it's exciting to be part of like seeing, witnessing all these things happening. From a more personal perspective, I'm really excited to see, hopefully, the Caribbean adopting some of this technology to help them with their development, because it's exciting to talk about Mars and rockets and those and like, big fancy $1 billion telescopes going up into space. But I think a lot of people in the Caribbean don't see that as relevant to them. And it is space. What we learn about, what all the things we learn while we're doing this research definitely helps life on Earth. But I think they see it as like, oh, we come from a small, poor country. Like, why? Like they're spending millions and billions on this new technology. Like this has nothing to do with us. Like we can't contribute in any kind of way. Um, but I hope we start to see, whether it be through science communication or through initiatives, example with like the whole climate action and having to get the whole world on board, because it's going to affect all of us. Like there's so much impact that space technology can have in that space, and hoping that they see that, yeah, while all these exciting things are happening on the news, but a lot of space research is actually Earth observation, and a lot of it is trying to help life get better on Earth, like your Wi-Fi, your Google Maps, like all of that is like powered by satellites. So um, hopefully, I think that's my personal dream, that we get to be a Caribbean region that embraces that and that sees, okay, we might not be able to help contribute any money to the next big telescope in space, but there's this new thing we can do, or this like maybe it might be research that we can help contribute to that's going to help us combat climate change, that's going to help us with like food security, that's going to help us just be a more sustainable region. Because I think right now we're very much all like, economies that are not so big, just focused on like tourism and like those kind of things. And it's like it's doing well enough for us now, but I would like us to get to a point where we're the definition of sustainable. Like we'll be okay with what we have within our region and not have to depend as heavily on tourism as we do now. So yeah, a lot of things, but I think definitely that last one of seeing the Caribbean embrace more of what space is actually doing for them and will do for them in the future. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I understand that it's a little bit difficult to communicate it to people how astronomy is involved in your day-to-day life. And that's kind of why we're doing these interviews also with professionals who are working in the space industry, so that these people see that they're just like them, that they find reason to like relate with them. And so one of the best ways to sort of do that is to have a rapid fire session before we move towards the end of our conversation for this episode. So I'm going to throw some questions at you and you have to think quickly and give one word answers. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool. Tell me one book or movie that shaped your love for space.
Ooh, that's tough.
Quick.
That's tough. It's gonna have to be like a discovery documentary. I don't know the name of it. It was a space documentary. That would be it. I don't. I was so young. It's like I don't remember the name of it.
Okay, can you think of your favorite book or movie for people to maybe look up and watch it?
No,
What
I
is it?
can't.
No?
Because I can't. Because I just got
Okay.
into through. Like, it was just an interest through school. Like it wasn't one thing that kind of. Yeah, I wasn't reading space books, and even now I
Okay.
don't really watch space movies because I'm kind of like, if it's not accurate, then I get annoyed. So I don't really.
Ah, that is such a nerd problem. I remember watching Interstellar and then pointing out some issues, or watching Martian and then pointing out some issues. It sort of ruins it. But okay, anyway, let's move on to the next question. So, Saint Lucia, England, or somewhere else on Earth, where would you rather be?
Saint Lucia, 100%.
Okay. Um, an inspiring mentor or a role model in your career? What anybody that comes to your mind?
Again, it's just, I can't give one answer for this. There's been so many people.
One answer.
I can't give one answer.
I skipped one question for you. You have to find an answer for this.
I have. Okay, it's not. I'm really bad. It's not gonna be rapid fire. There's just so many people that have been so inspiring for different reasons.
Okay, give us a few then.
My physics teacher, Charlene Bodley, my first ever
Mm.
physics teacher. She just gave me the space to think and dream and all of that. And then there's Dr. Camille Aline, who had a really long career at NASA as an aerospace engineer at NASA. She's recently retired and started her own company, who's like really great mission. Obviously, she's a Caribbean woman, so that inspired me. Um, yeah, I think we'll stick to those two. There's so many more people, but we'll stick to those two.
Yeah, I mean, for our listeners, if you're parents, you have to understand what Shen has been saying through this interview, how being a young girl and having the support system of women and the teacher that she just mentioned is an inspiring person in her life. You have to understand how much it affects young girls specifically about what you talk about and what you have around them. So make sure that they actually watch these things and look up to people like Cheyenne and learn more about astronomy. Well, anyway, moving on to the next question. If you weren't an astrophysicist or a data analyst, what would you be?
I would be an actor.
Oh, that's interesting. That might have been my answer also. We need to discuss more about that and try to integrate into our work, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, next one. One place in the universe you wish you could visit.
A blue star.
A blue star. Why? It's gonna be so hot.
Yes, but we're wishing. So I'm just fascinated with the concept of a blue star. Like, what do you mean it's blue? Like that, it is from the time I learned about them, it's always fascinated me. Yeah, it's only one answer, so I'm gonna stick to that. I did think of another one, but blue star is number one.
Okay, cool. Well, all the best. That star is gonna die soon because it's very hot. Might refer to Hertzsprung-Russell diagram on that answer a little bit. Well, anyway, okay, let's move on to the last sort of question of this conversation. I understand that this interview has been going a bit long, but honestly, I've been really enjoying chatting with you, Cheyenne, and I hope everybody who's listening and watching is also enjoying and sticking with us until now, because now I want you, Cheyenne, to tell our listeners or like give them an advice about starting out in astronomy or in STEM. What can you tell them?
My top thing that I would say is keep going. Like, it's not going to be easy. My journey hasn't been easy. It's nice to listen to these conversations because they're inspiring, and you hear about, what the person has done after they've done it. Like, I decided it's been more than 10 years now that I decided I wanted to be an astrophysicist, and a lot has happened in that 10-year span. So now I can sit here and say, yeah, I have a degree and I have a job and I did this and I've done that. But while I was going through that process, it definitely wasn't easy. And the fact that it's hard doesn't mean that you're not meant for it. If it's something you're passionate about, keep up the hard work, ask questions, ask for help, but keep going. Just don't stop. If that's what you want to do, then keep going.
That's really good advice. And before we go, maybe you can tell people where they can find you on social media, how they can reach you, and what can they expect you to be doing in next couple of years, and how they can, help your journey.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. Cheyenne Polius everywhere, everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, like LinkedIn, TikTok, like I'm everywhere. So find me wherever your favorite platform is. And I also have a Substack as well. So in the next couple of years, I would say you're going to be seeing a lot of science communicator Cheyenne and entrepreneur Cheyenne, like very much leaning into this entrepreneurial journey and wanting to build LUNAA Journeys in the best way that I can. And just having that community and just being able to share knowledge. Like, my love for science communication came from the fact that I wanted to be able to explain things to people in a way that they understood it, just so they could understand my fascination with space. Like, you don't have to do a physics degree or an astronomy degree to be able to enjoy the wonders of the universe. So that's what I want to bring to people. So even if it's not something you're looking at as a career, but you just want to learn some fun facts about space, that's what's going to be coming from me.
That's really cool. I think we're gonna just add all these social media channels to the description of this episode, so our listeners and viewers can go there and find you and follow you. And I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing you, rule the science communication world in Saint Lucia, and meet at different conferences with each other, give
Yes.
talks, and just have fun with astronomy. Thank you very much for joining us today. And it's been a long conversation, but I hope you also had fun.
Yes, thank you for having me. I definitely had fun doing this.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Cheers, guys.